All right, hello everyone. Hey, welcome back to Daily Update, my 1000 day challenge. This is day 301. So let's get things started. All right, so first and foremost, you'll notice the balance is relatively same as yesterday. So only a small increase in the experimental trade setup. So I did enter a couple of trades, and I will say that over in the past few weeks, that there's a small tendency in terms of the review back that I'm trying to actually overtrade a little bit in terms of experimental trade. So even though I'm getting profits, say here and there, I'm still making consistently some key mistake which I need to be more consistent or more cautious about. So there's something to take note of in the experimental trade setup. Otherwise, in terms of main trading account setup, you'll notice that there isn't any movement, say, since 293 to today, simply because I'm not actually open any trade in terms of that main trading account setup, simply because the trend is unclear right now, even though on the, say, on the 4-hour and the daily chart itself, it looks to be a little bit bearish itself. But bearing in mind that there isn't a clear consolidation just yet to mark a very strong reversal in trend, in my opinion. And so if I were to go short in terms of the 4-hour chart itself, it's still not very ideal in terms of risk to reward setup. So definitely I'm not entering in terms based on that alone. However, if you look in terms of trading opportunities, I still do find there. Of course, it could be in other pairs or other tokens, or alternatively on different time frame itself, whereby maybe showing a much clearer trend itself. But that again also depends. And yeah, so otherwise, if you look in terms of the US market itself, generally we still remains bullish. Although you can see that even though we are technically making higher highs and higher low on the daily chart itself, you'll see very clearly that it's going a little bit sort of a parabolic in that sense in terms of short-term wise, but overall we are still not parabolic in the phase that we are still very near the 20 exponential moving average, going to show that it could just be a very nice pullback and rebound in that perspective. So nothing to be too much of a concern. And similarly for Nasdaq wise, we have price is just maintaining above the 20 and 50 simple moving, 20 exponential and 50 simple moving average. So nothing too much of to be concerned of. So overall, technically, we're still making very key higher lows and higher highs so far. So hopefully we do consolidate nicely over extended periods, say at least for a month, 2, or even for 3 to 6 months. There'll be a great consolidation period before we actually do break out towards making much higher high itself. So there'll be a more kind of a sustainable kind of trend and pattern that I'd like to see. And for ASHR, like what I mentioned, things looks to be great after the breakout over here. And of course, we face some hesitation after the gap up, nothing too much of a concern. And price is still hovering around here. So technically here could be somewhat like a resistance as you can see over here. Previously, support was found over here, support was found over here, and now resistance found over here. So similarly, nothing too much to be concerned about. So this key level of $42 seems to be of interest. We are supported once here, twice here, and briefly we broke down here and then we support over here just as well, and similarly right over here. So I'll say this $42 market over here, and you'll notice that this is a region of very clear resistance or support if you look at it on the daily time frame itself. And finally, for KY itself, so things don't look to be a little bit that bullish, because I did mention that even though if price remains just below this 20 exponential average, is still a good thing, but it shouldn't be accumulating excessively. So the more it accumulates right below it, the tendency for it to go even have bearish bias does leans towards that. But not to say that we cannot just accumulate for a couple more days before it break towards the upside just as well. But of course, the more days it accumulates, the less likely it is, in my opinion, to actually break towards the upside of things. So hopefully we can actually break it up, say maybe today opening itself is already not above it, but we could actually close above it, or technically hopefully we can go above it in the next coming week itself. And yeah, and finally for Bitcoin itself, so today we actually had a drop. So over here on the 4-hour chart, I did say clearly that in order for me to even potentially enter a long, you will have to break above there. So technically this thing did break above there, but I did mention that this is key thing is what do you call that? Trend reversal kind of trade. So personally, it's not for me. And if you do happen to enter this similarly, you have been stopped out right over here just as well. So over here, we look into some purely price action itself on a 4-hour chart. Potentially, there's a support over here. But do bear in mind that we are still technically making lower highs and lower lows. So tentatively on the 4-hour chart, we look to be a little bit bearish. And even on the daily chart itself, we also still looks to be a little bit bearish with lower low being formed over here just as well, especially in terms of closing itself. We're still forming lower lows in that perspective. So until we actually break nicely above these 200-day simple moving average, I still tentatively leans towards a little bit more towards the bearish side. But if price could very strongly break above that, then there will be a very much continuation towards the bullish momentum of things, simply because we still have some sort of bullish momentums in terms of the 200 simple day moving average sloping towards the upside. So with that said, I'm definitely not interested or not keen to enter any trade on the 4-hour and daily time frame, but we are looking in terms of, say, if I were to be biased towards any direction of 4, which I'm definitely leaning towards bearish momentum itself. But do bear in mind that we do, if you want to enter, then I guess somewhere along here would have been a good point to enter. So you can see the MACD did crossover, but let's see how it is. So I'm tentatively not that bearish in that perspective, but of course things could without doubt turn bearish. So I'll take a little look again, but otherwise on a forward chart, this is a break of a trend line towards the downside. So yeah, if you have a retest and a rejection over here, tentatively I would consider a short. So this in this case will be somewhat like this. The reason why you can see over here is if you don't consider a short, then unless you enter right over here, then yeah, perhaps there's still potential setup. Yeah, there is still, this would have still been a potential setup, but personally I didn't enter over here. But let's see how price react to it. So since I missed this trade, I'll not be entering this. And with that said, I've come to the end of today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.